Around the turn of the century, the late 1800s to early 1900s, a new style emerged which would change Germany forever. The country after this would never be the same. And why did this style emerge? Who from? Well, those are topics that we're going to be talking about in this video. So, this is an artist known as Egon Schiele. Alright. He produced actually pretty talented, beautiful works such as this early on in his career. Alright, let me go on to the next one. See, you can see that's pretty talented. All of the work, all the detail that he put into the water, I think it's pretty talented. It's pretty good. This is a beautiful painting. Alright? He produced this. We're starting to get more into the expressionist style here. So Expressionism was influenced by early Impressionism. Now, Impressionism is an art style which was still trying to depict a form of naturalism. It was trying to depict how light refracts. And the feeling that you get is actually a lot more emotional than what you would get from other works of art. So people start looking at this art through a more emotional lens. Expressionism went totally away from that. It went more into the unreal aspect of art, to where people were starting to display things that they felt subconsciously onto the painting. And what's interesting about this expression that was brought about is it wasn't about displaying inner beauty like Impressionism did, but it was about exposing the darker emotions, the darker feelings, the darker things in life. And that's what's interesting about it. Now, Expressionism went to go on to influence movements such as Dadaism, abstract expressionism, which is interesting and another topic of itself, and that went to influence what we consider modern art nowadays, right? Abstract art, modernistic art, that comes from abstract expressionism. So this is all a trail that leads in similar directions. And Dadaism even went to influence surrealism. Even Expressionism, besides its impressionistic influence, had a lot of influence from symbolism, which is interesting, right? Because they start introducing elements of the occult in artwork. And I believe a lot of that transferred into Expressionism. But that being said, what I'm about to show you next, this is the same artist. And we're going to try to talk about this as objectively as possible, because we're on YouTube here. What I'm about to show you next is very, very graphic. Again, I think YouTube will allow this because this is for arts, for the purpose of art, and displaying art, which this is unfortunately considered art. Anywho, what I'm about to show you is very graphic and depicts images of let's just say very young girls in a very inappropriate way. So I have to use euphemisms here too since we're on YouTube, but just keep that in mind. Now this is the same artist. If you are not interested in seeing this, which again, I'm displaying this purely for the purposes of showing you what happened around the turn of the century in Germany. If you're not interested in seeing this, please click off the video. For those who are, this is the horror that awaits. Well, this isn't it. This is sort of a... he did several works of art. But I find this one particularly concerning, considering what you're about to see next, because this is a woman and a child, right? But the woman is in red, symbolism here being the Whore of Babylon, biblically speaking. Now again, it doesn't matter if you are religious or not. because what's concerning here is the Whore of Babylon is frequently used in the occult, such as, or by occultists such as Aleister Crowley, to depict whores. And the implication here is that she is whoring out this child. At least that's how I see it. Now, to add to this, around the early 1900s in Germany, in the Weimar Republic, or Weimar as it would be more correctly pronounced, mothers prostituting themselves and prostituting their children was fairly common. So you have to wonder, is that an influence in this art? And if you don't think it is, look at what else he created. This is of a underage person, I will say. Again, more art from the same artist. Alright. Doesn't it look like her eye is bruised, like she had been mangled up and abused? Just want to point that out. Again, more young women. Alright. Now you have to ask yourself, why is this same artist depicting a mother basically nude breastfeeding her child? Something that should be considered, you know, holy or beautiful, however you want to see it. Mothers feeding their children are beautiful. I don't have anything wrong with breastfeeding. But why is this particular artist focusing on this? That is the question. We're taking things in context. Nothing wrong with the action that is happening in the image. What is concerning is who's painting it. So I want to read this to you. This is from the wiki page on Egon Schiele. Now, I'll just go ahead and read this full section. I highlighted the important parts just so it's clear I'm not taking anything out of context. And again, Wikipedia is a decent source for this sort of thing. They actually do source their information. I don't always agree with Wikipedia, but you can usually check the sources and find this information elsewhere. I have found this information elsewhere myself. It's just more convenient to present this in this manner. So it says, together the couple moved to Neulengebach, I'm not the best at this, Neulengebach, 35 kilometers or miles west of Vienna, seeking inspirational surroundings and an inexpensive studio in which to work. As had been the case in the capital, young people and teenagers gathered in Schiele's new studio in Neulengebach. Schiele's way of life aroused much animosity among the town's inhabitants, and in April 1912, he was arrested under suspicion of kidnapping and seducing a girl of 13. Considering his art, do you find it that hard to believe that this man seduced and kidnapped a 13-year-old girl? Alright, and then it says, when the police came to his studio to place Schiele under arrest, they seized more than 100 drawings which they considered pornographic. Schiele was imprisoned while awaiting his trial. When his case was brought before a judge, the charges were dropped, but the artist was found guilty of exhibiting erotic drawings in a place accessible to children. In court, the judge burned one of his drawings depicting a very young girl dressed only above the waist over a candle flame. The 21 days he already has spent in custody were taken into account, and he was sentenced to a further 3 days imprisonment. While in prison, Schiele created a series of paintings depicting his jail cell. In 1913, the Galerie Hans Goltz in Munich mounted Schiele's first solo studio. A solo exhibition of his work took place in Paris 1914. So, Now that we've taken a look at Sheila's art, I would like to remind you guys of a recent scandal involving a Mr. Podesta's artwork. And you remember that he had artwork depicting underage people in his house, you know, in very inappropriate ways. So, you'll also notice tons of celebrities with this sort of artwork. Why do you think they have it? Where do you think it comes from? These are important questions to ask, and questions that we can't fully get into in this video for lack of time, and some for lack of information available, because we don't know under what circumstances they acquired these artworks. And the reason for that is artwork, particularly modern artwork, is a common vehicle for money laundering. Now, the reason for this is because the banks can't really regulate transactions involving artwork. They have to take your word that what you're spending millions of dollars on is a piece of art and not something else. So, say for instance you want to traffic drugs, or even traffic people, underage people perhaps. How would one go about doing that? They would sell modern art. And it's not just used for that, it's also used for political campaigning as well. If I would like to privately give somebody some money, right, then I would purchase this token, a piece of modern art, and these artworks that they collect, it serves as a badge of honor, a receipt showing a transaction complete. So, you think that wasn't what was happening when this art was initially being created? So yeah, what is with this? Alright, this is from the WWII school, meaning the bridge. They, like Nietzsche, saw themselves above morality. Well, what does that mean here? We see an adult man and two naked, underage people, right? Now, I just found this one interesting because you can see the square and the compass symbol. You also have the fish, and maybe that's related to Pisces. We know these people are into astrotheology, but I just thought it was interesting. Again, is this really worth millions or even thousands of dollars? I don't think so. And what is this? Now, do we know that this is for sure an underage person? No. But look at the size difference, and look at how uncomfortable this little person looks compared to the bigger man that's holding him. It's a little bit weird, isn't it? Alright. I believe all the artwork here is from the WWII school. This is Carl Schmidt Rutloff. Let me go ahead and show his artwork. So again, yeah, it's really weird. I'm not going to go too much into the symbolism here because I want this video to be easily digestible for most people. But again, is this artwork really worth anything? Most of this is just prints. Alright, we have some naked people. There's definitely some perverse imagery going on. We can see where the fixation of these people are. And I want to ask you the question, do you think it was justified for Germans to get upset that their taxpayer money was going to artwork such as this? This is the same stuff that is happening right here in America. This here is art from Kirchner. Does that maybe look like an underage person to you? Very creepy stuff. Notice even she has the black eyes. That, alright, so if you don't know, the word panda is usually used with these predators. And it refers to what happens to children once they've been abused. Here's the fracturing of the identity. This is another sign of abuse. You see how he has one face looking one way, one face looking the other? He has become fractured. Yeah, this is just weird art. I don't know. So, let's go ahead. We've looked through some of Kirchner's artwork. Alright, next we're going to take a look at Egon Schiele. No, I'm sorry, we already looked at Schiele. Let's take a look at Nolde. Now this is a very disturbed face. This looks very predatory to me. Alright, that's just weird. Alright, so now people might disagree over this, but this was a form of subverting Germany at the time. What they're showing here, they're trying to, mix people together. What they're trying to do is destroy unique genetics. They want everybody to be part of one global people. Now, why would the global elite want this? And the answer to this is obvious, right? They've been pushing for industry, pushing for technology, pushing for AI in modern times. The reason why they want to do this is because most jobs are already obsolete. What they want to do is make sure that they maintain political power. And the only way to keep political power is to destroy everything that makes everyone unique and push us all into this egalitarian global people. Alright? We lose everything unique about ourselves, we lose our motivation, we lose our culture, we lose our identity, and we become accustomed to this global government. Those who will survive this genocide are going to be used as slaves to the global elite. And you have to ask yourself, what sort of slavery is that going to be? What sort of life is this going to be? Because they're going to have machines running everything. So what are they going to have us do? I don't know. Maybe we would maintain the machines, but the people who are still alive, and I recommend reading H.G. Wells' The Time Machine if you want a good picture of what this would look like, are meant to be dumbed down, pleasure-seeking idiots. People who the ruling elite can use for whatever perversions that they want to use us for. Alright? And so that's why they are pushing for this. So, and that's the thing, right? You might think, well, alright, maybe they just want to push maybe these people are just, creepy, right? Maybe there's no bigger conspiracy to this. Alright, you don't think that they're pushing this degeneracy on purpose? It's not even, what it is it's not even degeneracy. What they are pushing is the controlled demolition of our culture and our people. Every single group of people on the planet has the right to preserve their people, to preserve a future for their people. And you have to ask yourself why they are pushing so hard to target us. Oh, I forgot to show this. This is Pechstein's artwork. Just so you can have some more examples, right? Definitely predatory artwork. Yeah, it's just... it's just weird. Alright? Does that maybe make you think of Eyes Wide Shut? These weird global elite sex parties, fertility cults? Well, if you don't think this is real, alright, you know, that's whatever. But let me show you that this art is being weaponized. Both for the destruction of our culture, but also because of the subliminal messaging pushed to us through the art, and the perversions that it represents. And that's why I gave the disclaimer earlier that I was going to be showing some disturbing art. The perversions that it pushes, they are trying to normalize in our culture. Because the ruling elite are very immoral people. It benefits them to keep engaging in this stuff. And when they get you to lower yourself to a base immoral level, they can control you. Because they turn degeneracy into addiction. They are causing the destruction of the society and of the individuals in the society. Now let me give you this example. So this artwork later on, in Germany at the time, went on to... well, they would make films using this style. Now, this is what Aquino writes. Michael Aquino, the Satanist who was a colonel in the military, right? And he was in the PSYOP division. And he proposed a paper called Mind Wars, which later became a full-on book. And this is from the book Mind Wars. The impact of an image is not intellectual, but biological and subconscious. It is essentially a reaction to the sudden perception of danger. Alright, here's what he lists for shapes. He says, shapes, angles, or patterns which are inherently alarming and destabilizing. There are 4 basic types of these. The diagonal. An example, this is the lightning bolt, something that moves swiftly with determination. And again, what he's describing is how these shapes are supposed to register within your subconscious, how they're supposed to make you act. The S-curve, or the snake, is something that approaches in a slithering fashion, or the curves of the body, especially female. It is the line of beauty. So the S-curve, these round shapes symbolize sensuality, lust. We have number 3, the triangle. Combinations, an example, things such as blades, sharp points, or teeth. These are the threat of the sharpness. The danger, right? And number 4 is compact dominant mass. An example, it is a large animal or a trapezoid, which represents a massive block in one's path. A constructed mind war image will contain combinations of these included with or integrated with the superficial image to seize and hold the viewer's attention. Perhaps the most striking illustration of such technique was the German expressionist cinema of the early 20th century. As Lot Eisner observes concerning the 1919 classic Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, oblique curving or rectilinear lines coverage across an undefined expanse towards the background. A wall skirted by the silhouette of Caesar, the somnambulist, the slim ridge of the roof he darts along bearing his prey, and the steep paths he scales in his flight. In Expressimus and film, Rudolf Kurtz points out that these curves and slanting lines have a have a meaning which is decidedly metaphysical. For the psychic reaction caused by the specter by oblique lines is entirely different from that caused by him in straight lines. Similarly, unexpected curves and sudden ups and downs provoke emotions quite different from those induced by harmonious and gentle gradients. But what matters is to create states of anxiety and terror. That is what Expressionist cinema often did. And the entire point of Expressionism was to destroy what was beautiful and focus on what was ugly, what caused intense psychological emotion. So with that said, Aquino said, or he continues by saying, the diversity of planes has only secondary importance. In Gustav Meyrink's Golem, the houses in the Prague ghetto, which have sprouted like weeds, seem to have an insidious life of their own. When the autumn evening mists stagnate in the streets and veil their imperceptible grimace, in some mysterious way these streets contrive to abjure their life and feelings during the daytime, and lend them instead to their inhabitants. Those enigmatic creatures who wander aimlessly around, feebly animated by an invisible magnetic current, but at night the houses reclaim the life with interest from these unreal inhabitants. They stiffen and sly faces fill with malevolence. The doors become gaping maws and shrieking gullets. The dynamic force of the object howls their desires to be created. Kurtz declared, and this is the explanation of the overpowering obsessiveness of the Caligari sets. Once attracted, that attention must be changed to interest, which is accomplished by the excitement of emotional pattern thinking. Right, so they're focusing on using these shapes to engage your subconscious pattern thinking. Keep that in mind. The strongest of such themes are sex. That's the first one they list. Why do you think they've been pushing sexual imagery since the sexual revolution? They want you to constantly think about that because they want you to become pleasure obsessed, thus making you easier to control. So such themes are sex, sentiment, and wonder, the time-tested staples of the entertainment and advertising industries, which is exactly what all of this leads to. In the future, we will go into detail on how expressionism and modern art was used to create graphic design as an industry, to push these subliminal messages, to get you to buy products, to get you to support political campaigns, to control the way that you think about everything. And it all came out of a deliberate plan to destroy our societies and to control the minds of its inhabitants. So, in Mind War, it is simply a matter of including one or more of these features in the image or message. Now, what I forgot to include in this, he also includes the basic colors, and he doesn't go that in depth in Mind War, but I'll let you know. Red causes feelings of passion and urgency. Green causes relaxation. And blue is a color which causes one to think and to ponder things. Now, the common example people usually use for this, right, is Target versus Walmart. Walmart wants you to think about their cheap prices, well, the prices that used to be cheap, right? And Target wants you to go in and spend your money as quick as you can. Now, that's the reason why clearance tags are always red. They want you to urgently think about buying this before you decide that it's not something you actually want, right? And green is a color which causes relaxation. It is a color of nature. Now, I'll also let you know, since we're talking about it, even though that this is the psychological effect these colors have, your television and your computer probably overuse blue light, which is the it's basically the highest frequency of light. It is very damaging to your eyes. So you might want to reduce the blue light on your computer or a monitor if you don't want to damage your eyes. And again, it's a gradual thing that happens over time, but it's worth warning. And the last thing I want to show you, and this is just to compare and contrast, right? I showed you this horrendous art that was taking over Germany well before the Nazis took power. And again, I'm not necessarily promoting them. Yeah, I think that's up to the people. You can't ever say that everything that they did was good or everything that they did was bad. But all I'm trying to say here, and again, like, there's a lot of reason why people would be suspicious about them. All I want to share with you is take a look at the art that they were promoting versus what was there at the time. Whether you think the Nazis, were actually there to preserve European culture, or you think that they were, a form of controlled opposition, or whether you're just new to this topic and you think that they were bad. Well, at least take this into consideration. These were the artists that they were promoting, and you can see that they were trying to appeal to classical European art. This is what they found beautiful. And tell me, if you go into an art museum now, would you rather see art that I was showing you before? The modernist art, what I would consider Marxist art, or would you rather see beautiful European statues and paintings such as these? You don't have to accept the politics, but what would you rather see in your culture? That is the war. The war is over reality versus the subjective. Truth versus lie. Beauty versus ugly. What world do you want to live in?